I am Hoarder Gamer, and this is my top 10 games for the year 2017. Okay, everybody, we're going to start with number 10, moving on to number 1, because that's what I see most people doing, and it seems to work out pretty well. Gives a little bit of a, suspense, a little bit of excitement there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do too. Okay, and I got my list actually right here. First off, we're going to start number 10. Number 10 is Nier Automata, or Automata, however you want to say it. Kind of a weird thing about Nier. Hey, VCR still works. Good to see you. How you doing? Have I ever emailed something to get an autograph? No. No, I'm not big on autographs. I like to get like pictures taken with like actors and things like that if I can. To me, that's a much cooler thing to have and like to put on a wall or something. Because the autograph could just be like unless it's made out to you personally, it's just kind of impersonal. Is the way I look at it. But yeah, first game is Nier Automata, and a weird story for this one. I played it and initially didn't like it. I don't know, something just felt off. And I played the demo or beta that came out before Nier was released, and I really enjoyed that. But for some reason, I just didn't gel with the game. Then I went and rented it for like another week, because I played it briefly when I had it. So I rented it again, and I really got into it. Very imaginative worlds that it takes place in. Awesome combat, kind of a mix between Devil May Cry and a bullet hell shooter. But the map is trash. The whole guidance system of trying to get your way through levels and find objectives is pretty crap. And I'm not the only person that thinks that. So that's probably why Nier was at number 10. But it just still it offers an experience unlike most other games. And that's why a lot of the games are going to be on my top 10 list. This is a weird year too, by the way. I've not finished every game on my top 10 list. Only 2 or 3 actually. But the other games I'm definitely going to come back to. I didn't even contemplate trading or selling those games, which for me means a lot. A lot of times if I don't like a game, I'll just saddle it, C'est la vie type of thing. Nier's one of the best games this year. It really, it's really wild. It's a wild experience. That's why it's in my top 10. Yeah, it's just this one thing where the visuals, I can't get over the character designs and everything else. And the implementation, the bullet hell scenes and the bosses is so cool. There's this great place where you have like broken down robots, and they have their amusement park and part of a forest, and that was the point where I kind of was like, this is awesome. This is such a great experience. And I'll definitely come back to play it in 2018, because there's a huge amount of time where there aren't new games coming out, and Nier is definitely one of the games I do want to play. The only issue I have, it's on PS4, and as you know, unfortunately I have some issues streaming PS4 games, so... Okay, so that's my number 10 game is Nier Automata. Number 9 is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. It's a wild game in that it's basically the first AAA indie. I believe it was Ninja Theory, I believe, who made it, right? Hope I didn't screw that one up. I'm pretty sure it's Ninja Theory. It's all about mental illness and an examination of mental illness in the way past, like in the time of Vikings and such. And it's about PTSD, and there's nothing quite like it. And it's all centered around a fantastic performance by the actress who plays Senua, who actually wasn't even an actress to begin with. She was just an employee that worked at Ninja Theory, which is wild, Part of me thinks I'm wrong about Ninja Theory. I apologize if that part's wrong. I'm sorry. There's a lot of details I do have for these games, and if I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry. But yeah, there's nothing quite like it. Nothing looks at mental illness in the same way. Nothing is as haunting of a game to play. The only issue I have with, and this is one of the games I have beaten, only issue I have is towards the very end, it just becomes kind of a slog of fighting enemy after enemy after enemy. So that's kind of why it's at the higher end of that 10 scale at number 9. Otherwise, it's an awesome experience, you know. Also, some of the puzzles are a little bit off and a little bit kind of picky as to getting the solutions to them. But still, just like Nier, offers an experience unlike just about any other game I've played. So that's one of the main reasons it's on this top 10 list. Excellent. Next up we have number 8, Uncharted Lost Legacy. I'm a huge Uncharted fan, okay? And a huge fan of Chloe. And this is a story about Chloe and Nadine. And it's excellent animation, excellent shooting, excellent stealth, a really cool open world type area where there's like little treasures and things to find in it. Just a beautiful game. Definitely AAA production values. And I think even better than the original Uncharted, which I'm not a huge fan of. Uncharted 1 I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know. I just find that game problematic. And Uncharted 2, however, one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, this is really good. This wasn't to me as amazing as Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 4, which came out in 2016, but I thought it was still really good. Oh, wow, someone just popped in to review me. 60 seconds to impress you. Let's see. Well, my Uncharted review is pretty much done, so we're going to the next game, so maybe that'll be helpful. Persona 5. I've spent over 25 hours playing Persona 5, and it has been a singular experience. A mind-blowing soundtrack. At times moody and frightening, at times upbeat and jazzy. If you look at the CDs, it's 80 to 100 tracks of just wildly fantastic music. And just that alone gives it a spot in my top 10. Now, you have the fact that it is an awesome RPG that takes place over the span of, I believe, almost an entire year, if not a year. Follows these kids in high school as their alter egos are superheroes and fighting the most evil, monstrous adults, mostly, in the world they live in. And their alternate personalities that come out in dreams, basically. So, yeah, it's an awesome experience. Like I said, I'm about 25 hours in. And it's a game, like I said, I'll never sell this game. I will be playing it to actually complete it this year. And it's on this list again because it's just such a great experience. It's so well done with such great characterization. And that's why it's on this list. Next up, we have South Park: The Fractured But Whole. I was a huge fan of the first South Park video game that came out about, what, 3 years ago now? And this one's even better. Better combat, the awesome superhero characters such as the Coon and Mysterio. Mysterion, actually, I'm sorry. Mysterio is the Spider-Man villain. Sorry about that. Anyway, it's an awesome experience. If you're a fan of South Park, you have to play it. It is like a super long episode of South Park, and it's got so many cool Easter eggs and just so much excellent dialogue. I highly recommend it. If you love the previous South Park game, I'll be surprised if you don't already own this. It's so good. It's so very good. And great bosses and great abilities that you have. And they took, I believe they had someone that worked on BioShock, actually, that helped them with the fight and battle design here. And they took it to the next level. It's so much better than it was in the first game. That, to me, was one of the only sticking points with the first game, of the Stick of Truth. Okay, next up on our list we have number 5, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Okay, this is a game that was rumored for quite a while, and people were like, "No, that's not going to happen. That they're not going to do a strategy game with Mario and the Rabbids. That's craziness. What are you talking about?" Well, it did happen, and it's actually a really solid game. More like XCOM than anything. Not quite as challenging or as frustrating as it can get, but beautiful and challenging, and such a weird mashup. You know? You wouldn't think that the Rabbids and Mario would work out well, but they really do. And there's an overworld with coins to collect and new weapons and things to purchase, and it's quite addicting. Plus, there's couch co-op with a number of missions. There's going to be some cool DLC. A lot of it's already come out. Yeah, I mean, for the Switch, to me, it's one of the best titles out there, one of the top 3 or 4. And there's other Switch games that are going to be on this list as well. But, yeah, character designs, sense of humor, goofy sense of humor, but still great. Also, once you beat a level, there's new things to do. There's a little Toad character to find, there's challenges, and a lot of replayability, I feel. So that's that one. Next up we go to number 4, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now I played that about, I would say, 15 to 20 hours, and I thought it was great. I think it's a great experience. But one of the reasons I didn't play it more is it was very similar to another game that came out this year that's on the list. It's coming up soon. It's great, though. It is a fantastic, wild experience. I would say if it's not the best Legend of Zelda, it's way up there. It's something that I'm definitely going to come back to, and I definitely look forward to finishing. I love the fact that if you want to, and a friend of mine, Xbox Live Mike, and I actually tried this, after the first half hour to hour or so, you can basically just go all the way to the castle and fight Ganon if you want to. Not that that's easy. Not quite challenging, and just about every enemy will one-shot you. But you can do it, and we got exceptionally close in about like 2 hours of playing, 2.5, 3 hours of playing. That was just crazy. I was amazed because the developers mentioned you could do it, and I was like, yeah, right. They're really going to allow you to do that. Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much they do. It feels organic. It feels like not so much that you're a video game character, that you're actually like in this world, and anything you think of, be it based on physics, cooking, fighting, you can do. Very few limitations in Breath of the Wild, and that's the reason it's on my list. Another funny story is, would never have sold this game in a million years, except for the fact that I got in more money than what I paid for it. I paid $48 for this because I have Gamers Club Unlocked at Best Buy. Pretty good deal, I think. Anyway, everyone wanted it used, so even like a month or two after the game came out, you could get $55 for it used. So, yeah, that was the only reason I sold it. Otherwise, it's a phenomenal game, and I love it. But, you know, getting more money than what I paid, kind of foolish for me to say no to that, you know? Just figured I'd be completely honest with you, so you know all the details and everything. I'd say I played about 15 to 20 hours of that game. Okay. Horizon Zero Dawn. This is the reason that I kind of stopped playing Zelda. A beautiful world, a wonderful character, Aloy, great performance by Ashley Birch. I mean, some of the best graphics I've seen on console this year, some of the best animation, great stealth, pretty solid side missions, awesome enemies, mostly giant robot dinosaurs and things of that nature. Just wild. Which is kind of funny because that's part of the name of the DLC that just came out in December. But yeah, it's really good. The fact that it's a new IP is also pretty staggering because very rarely does a new IP come out now where it just kind of knocks it out of the ballpark immediately. Plus, the amount of support these guys have put behind the game. I think there's been over 20 updates for it to add everything from a picture mode to just refining all these elements of the game and making it a better experience. Horizon Zero Dawn, truly a class act. Then we get to number 2, everybody. Cuphead. Yes, Cuphead on PC and on Xbox One. Nothing looks like Cuphead. Nothing plays like Cuphead. Nothing feels like it. Even if you don't beat Cuphead, even if you just play it for a few hours, you're definitely getting your money's worth. It's like a live-action cartoon where you're in it. And even though you got this cute little Cuphead or Mugman, his brother, in the game, when you die, it feels really bad. Man, the memorization level to understand in order to take on the bosses is so out there. It's really impressive. They even have simple modes where you can take on weaker versions of the boss, where they don't have quite as many attacks or not quite as fast, and also they won't get the final phase of the boss battle. One issue I do have with that, though, is when they were making the game, they mentioned they would have an easier mode, and that you could play that if you wanted to. The catch is you can't completely beat the game, because you need to get contracts from your debtors in order to face off against the devil. Because these two brothers basically gambled and lost a lot to the devil, and now they have to try to get their souls back by going and killing off their friends who have been altered by the devil's magic, I believe it is. Either a devil or a King Dice. I'm not sure exactly who's magic. But, yeah, it's just a wild experience. Reminds me a lot of Ub Iwerks and early Disney cartoons. Also Betty Boop. And I think you'll be enchanted by it, you know? This game has been in the works for like almost 4 years. I want to say 3 to 3.5 for sure. And they constantly had updates where they'd show new bosses and new scenes, new battles and things, and even side-scrolling levels. And every time an update came out, I was like, wow, this looks so great. And they're just like, hopefully, you know, maybe it'll come out this year. Maybe this year will be the year. Will this be the year? So even at a point where they were like, it's coming out September 29th or 30th, one of those 2 days it came out, I think it was September 30th, I was still skeptical. Luckily, it did come out. It sold over 2 million copies, and it's great. It's an awesome game. $20 to me is a steal for Cuphead. And now we go to the #1 game of 2017 for Hoarder Gamer. Super Mario Odyssey. I know a lot of people like Breath of the Wild more. And again, as you heard what I said, I like Breath of the Wild very much, and I gave you those reasons. Mario Odyssey is like being a kid in a candy store. Okay? Just about anything you think of, you can do in the game based on the things you see around you. Based on the enemies that you see, based on the environment you see. You see a giant T-Rex, go ahead, throw your hat on him and ride him. You see some crazy plant thing, throw your hat on it, extend upwards, and get further into the level. The entire game is like that. And it's so neat because you have to pay attention to your surroundings. It's not like you had to go to previous levels and get all these abilities and everything like in a Metroidvania type of game. It's almost always the enemies that are lurking through the level, and sometimes it's really clever in the way you have to figure out how to use them properly. The worlds the game takes place in are huge and filled with all these moons you get to collect. And I believe you can beat the game with only like 200 to 250 moons collected, but there's somewhere between 800 to 1,000 of these moons. As far as I knew, it was 880, but then someone was talking in an amount something like around 900 something, which is new to me. I don't know if that's correct. I thought it was 880, which is still astonishing. I I want to say about 25, 30 hours playing the game. I'm not done. I'm probably about halfway done. And if you're talking about getting all those moons, I don't know. I don't know. I'm nowhere near getting all those 880, if not more, moons. But sometimes when you play a game, it leaves an impression on you. And I got to play a demo of it at a retail store. And it was just something where, like, when I was done, I wanted to play more, much more of it. To the point where I was just like, this is such a great experience. This is so wild. Even though there was a glitch with some of the units where you could play in store, and we didn't have a proper jump button. And Xbox Live Mike, who I mentioned earlier, a friend of mine, and I were trying to figure out, is this how Mario's supposed to move? We were still able to work with it, and it was still a fun time, but we were like, that's a really odd design decision, you know? Why would they do that? And it turns out it was basically a glitch. But, yeah. Once you play the game, if you don't have a Switch, you might actually want to run out and get a Switch. That's the same thing I've heard people say with Breath of the Wild. It's a game that will really tempt you in order to getting a system. And that's probably the best thing you can say about a new game. Okay, everybody, I want to thank you all for watching. This was my top 10 games for 2017. Whether you watch us on Twitch live or on YouTube, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. And I'll be doing a top 10 movie list too. I think that'll be maybe a day or two from this that you'll be able to see that. But yeah, I want to thank you all very much. And, you know, feel free to comment with your favorite games are, your favorite top 10 or your favorite game. Or, yeah. I might also do a video about, like, my least favorite games or the worst games of 2017. But I'm not sure. I don't like to be super ultra negative on things. But I might do that. But yeah, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have yourself a really good night, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.